What's going on, everyone? So yesterday, Shams reported that free agent Doug McDermott has agreed to a one-year deal with the Sacramento Kings. Sources told ESPN McDermott is a career 41% three-point shooter and joins the Western Conference playoff contender for his 11th NBA season. Now, this is very interesting on several fronts because there have been a lot of talk, a lot of conversation about the Sacramento Kings getting ready to make another move, make another big step, right? They traded Jalen McDaniels, gave up a second-round pick, yes, to drop under the tax, but also it's like, what's the point? Like, why not do that in February? Why do that right now unless you have something in mind, unless you're planning on making a move, and why give up assets in order to do that? Right? Kind of wait and see, be patient, see how things kind of play out. Adding Doug McDermott in place, Jalen McDaniels, like, sure, gives you another three-point shooter, gives you a guy that, again, 41% from three is fantastic, and especially the style in which the Sacramento Kings like to play. They're usually up there, top 3 to 5 in three-point attempts, as well as pace, giving you a guy in McDermott who can knock down the three on efficiency really could go a long way for this team. But you also look at this roster, and they're like, where do you fit him in? Like, how do you slot him in? You have plenty of guards. Now you have DeMar DeRozan, right? Like, it doesn't add up that you replaced McDaniels for McDermott, right? Like, you could argue with a three-point shooting, sure, but Jalen McDaniels, if he can kind of get back to what he was a couple years ago where he was 38% from three, but also a versatile defensive piece, right? Because he is a real 6'9", 6'10", athletic wing, right? Like, that's kind of what Sacramento needs, right? Are they really going all in on just offense and not really trying to stop or defending? Are they really going into like, hey, let's just try to out offense teams? I don't know, maybe, but with all the conversation about like, no, more is coming, something's coming, right? Sacramento's been very active all off season, trying to find moves, bring in DeMar DeRozan. It makes sense that there is another move coming. And more likely than not, Kevin Huerter is probably on his way out. He's the most sizable, tradable contract that you can get away with, right? Because you're not trading like Fox, or probably not trading Malik Monk unless it's for something like, special. You're not trading Sabonis or De'Aaron Fox or anybody like that, right? There's guys that you're not touching. So it's like, how do you get that next piece? A lot of talks about guys like even Brandon Ingram. Like, how do you get that guy? Well, you're going to have to start with Kevin Huerter and then add other pieces around that. Trey Lyles. Would they really trade Keegan Murray? Maybe they're really trying to push all in, because Sacramento, they don't want to just be a fringe play-in team. They don't want to just be a playoff team. They're, based on their organization, are saying, no, we want to be a contender. We want to be at the top. We want to be a team that is in the NBA Finals and potentially win an NBA championship. We don't want to just be that middle-of-the-pack team, and they're kind of trying to put their money where their mouth is. They're trying to push their chips in a little bit. Got De'Aaron Fox, who is going to get a new extension at some point. He's not going to get it this season because it makes no sense for them, or for De'Aaron Fox. It makes sense for Sacramento, but no sense for De'Aaron Fox to sign the extension yet when he can get more money next offseason. And on top of that, if he makes an All-NBA team, then he gets even more money. Now you're talking $300+ million. So he's definitely going to be patient. But Kevin Huerter also being on your way out, bringing in a guy like Doug McDermott replaces and gives you that shooter, right? So, if you like, the thing that Kevin Huerter gives you is that efficient three-point shooter that can kind of play in your offense and provide just, three-point shooting. If you're going to trade him in his sizable contract, and you don't get back a shooter, well, it'd be nice to kind of still have one. Doug McDermott on a vet minimum deal is a no-brainer at that point, right? He's a guy that, because Kevin Huerter now even, it's like, where does he kind of slot in? How many minutes does he play? Where does he really fit in the scheme of all that Sacramento's trying to do? Well, if you go and trade Kevin Huerter plus other pieces for, say, a Brandon Ingram, and you end up bringing in, say, a Brandon, just using Ingram as an example because he's somebody that's been linked to the Kings, right? Like, if you end up trading for Brandon Ingram. One, you're unloading 2 or 3 contracts, including Kevin Huerter. So now Doug McDermott might be more valuable, but also you could use that 3-point shooter, right? Brandon Ingram, he can shoot threes, but he's not known as like this sniper, right? Same thing with DeMar DeRozan. Like DeMar DeRozan is more of a mid-range guy. Same thing with Brandon Ingram, right? They like to kind of get to their spots, elevate over the top, shoot over the top, and get you buckets in that regard, right? De'Aaron Fox, he's improved much on his 3-point shooting, but he's not like some sniper, right? Malik Monk, same thing. Like he can shoot and he can get hot, especially from 3-point range, but he's more of like, hey, let's score in an array rather than just like, let me just spot up and knock down threes. Where you have guys like DeMar DeRozan, you have guys like De'Aaron Fox. If you get a guy in a Brandon Ingram, right? Other guys that can create, but also create for others, that can draw attention and now kick out. Still don't really understand the idea of like Brandon Ingram and DeMar DeRozan and guys like that personally, right? Because I just think you're putting too many guys that have similar skill sets and what they want to do, right? Like De'Aaron Fox, he wants to get in the teeth of the defense, shoot over the top, get to the basket. DeMar DeRozan, he wants to kind of get in the middle, get in the teeth of the defense, shoot over the top. Brandon Ingram, same thing. Right? It's like, at some point, I feel like you have too much of a redundancy. However, Sacramento seems like a team that wants to do it, and based on the moves that they've just made, kind of feels like that's what's coming. Because, I mean, if you look at the paper trail, if you follow the paper trail, they essentially, gave up 3 seconds plus Davion Mitchell for just to get off of Vezinov, or however you say his name, right? Like, doesn't really add up. It's like, why? Why are you doing all this? For what? It's silly. But when all is said and done and you finalize everything and it's like, oh, well, you ended up with Brandon Ingram, but you had to take, the long route to get there, then okay, then that all kind of makes sense. Right? Or maybe it's not even Brandon Ingram, maybe it's somebody else, right? Maybe it's a Cam Johnson, I think would make even more sense than a Brandon Ingram would, right? But point is, like, maybe they make that push for a guy that makes more sense to kind of, okay, cool. You also traded 2 or 3 guys, so it's like, hey, you could use that body. Oh, well, now we brought in, a Doug McDermott, and now everything's starting to add up. All the signs are there, and it's like, okay, well, now you had to trade and unload a 3-point shooter that you could really use. Well, you just brought in a very comparable one that has a good shooting percentage for his career, that's got decent size, that can play essentially 2 through 4 for you, and provide that 3-point shooting and just some relief in that regard, right? And then on top of that, you were able to get a Brandon Ingram, or like I said, maybe a Cam Johnson, or a Jeremy Grant or something like that, right? You end up pulling off the move to go get that piece that you feel as an organization now puts you in that conversation as a contending team. Will it? I don't know. Right? Like I said, if they go and they get a Brandon Ingram, I still don't really buy them as a contender. You never know how things are going to shape up, right? I'm always going to keep an open mind. I'm always going to give it a shot and see, but I don't necessarily think that that's the best move for Sacramento, but they seem very determined to try to pull something off. They seem very determined to try to get something done in order to kind of upgrade, or what they feel is an upgrade to this team that now puts them in that conversation. They've also talked heavily about how they want the firepower. Like, that was one of the reasons why they brought in DeMar DeRozan, to have the offensive firepower to keep up with the teams in the West and then the top teams in the East. And I get, like, you look at, like, when Malik Monk got hurt, it was basically De'Aaron Fox and no one else could create. No, like, it was all on De'Aaron Fox, and they just tanked, right? But, like, you can't, like I always say, you can't make decisions based on maybe a guy will or will not get injured. Like, because Malik Monk could play all 82 games and be healthy in the playoffs. He could play 20 games. And any team in the league, if they lost their second best offensive player, would struggle offensively. If Denver loses Jamal Murray, they're struggling, right? They're not the team that they were with him. No, if Celtics lose Jason Tatum, guess what? Or maybe Jaylen Brown is a better option, right? They're not going to be the team that they were, right? Like, if any team loses that guy, they're not going to be the team that they were. So I don't, like, it kind of feels like they're you had this thing happen and you saw the result, and now you're kind of going the extreme route about it. If it works, great. Now you look like geniuses, and now it's like, oh, that's it. We just won a championship. If it doesn't work, however, it's kind of like, well, you basically did all that when it was clear what this team needed, right? This team could have used more versatile 3-and-D wings, right? Like, they should have been going after, like, Mikal Bridges or OG or, even, like I said, a Cam Johnson, things like that, to pair alongside these guys that give you some versatility on the defense side that can still make shots for themselves, but also play off ball. Like, that, in my opinion, is kind of what they needed more than let's go get, 4 guys that can put the ball in the hoop but all need the ball in their hands and don't really provide great pace and 3-point volume. But we'll see, right? We'll see how it all plays out. But clearly, just based on the moves that they've made, it looks like something's coming. It looks like something is on the horizon for this team. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yeah, something's brewing, something's coming? Sacramento's about to pull off some big trade or make some big swing or something. Question is, do they do it before the season begins? That'll be interesting to see how that plays, or if they kind of wait and are being patient. And also, what do you think of Doug McDermott and his move to the Sacramento Kings? Do you like the move? Do you like the acquisition? Do you think that, like, yeah, this signals Kevin Huerter is gone? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. If you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.